Okay. Are we in? Are we in? Okay. Are we live? Are we live? Okay. So this is gonna be a part 2. Yeah. Man, you must check out the first one. So we're just finishing off the SpongeBob Conspiracy compilation with the new mini theories. Okay, let's watch. Also, let's count how many ads are gonna be this time. The last time there was 16 ads. So let's check. Alright, let's go.
So, the Neptune theory. This was and still is the most difficult theory I have ever had to piece together by
so
far.
good.
There is just so much inconsistent and contradictory information about these characters. Finding a way to actually tell a coherent story with them is not an easy task. Where are we gonna put this one? 6th place. I still think it's a believable theory, but there's just a lot of assumptions and speculation, and sometimes it gets really convoluted and hard to follow, especially when we get into different branching timelines and talking about what is and isn't canon. But hey, I did the best I could with the messy evidence they gave me. I don't think there is a clean and simple way to connect all of these characters, and I'm proud of what I came up with. On to the next mini theory. So, in 2021, Nickelodeon released a new spin-off show all about Patrick, called The Patrick Star Show.
Hi, I'm Patrick Star, and I live with my parents. This is my dad. This is my mom. This is my sister. This is my grandpa. And this is my show.
And I was really interested in it because it seems to kind of acknowledge the fact that it is a TV show, with Patrick actually being filmed and putting on a show as part of the plot of each episode.
Coming to you from the Star Family home, it's time for the Patrick Show! And here's your wide-awake host,
But it's weird. It's supposed to be a prequel when Patrick was still living with his family, but the Patrick's parents and sister characters that were established in the main show have been replaced by completely different people in this spin-off. This has been a long-running mystery about the Patrick Star Show that many people have asked me to talk about, but a storyboard artist for the Patrick Star Show actually addressed these contradictions in a very funny Twitter thread where he offers many different possible explanations for why Patrick's family looks different. These range from Patrick just perceiving reality differently, to him just assuming whatever starfish is closest to him is his family, to some kind of crazy timeline manipulation. But my favorite is just that they were recast by the in-universe showrunners and Patrick's too dumb to notice. Also, casual television theory confirmation, no biggie, we're used to it at this point. Now, I watched a good amount of this show when it was first coming out, and there wasn't really too much here for me to analyze, except for one very interesting character. Grandpat, and it ties directly in with my Neptune theory. Grandpat is allegedly Patrick's grandfather, even though we've never heard about him until now.
Mom, Dad, who's this guy?
I'm your grandfather, Grandpat. Must we do this every morning?
He's sort of a generic, cranky old man character who's apparently somehow been alive since prehistoric times.
Back in my day, we were food. It was way back in the Patrolithic period of early cave stars.
But he's not really that notable or interesting of a character, or that's at least what I thought, until I noticed something strange in the episode Squidina's Little Helper.
Sounds like we're doing a puppet show. Follow me. The secret crawl space runs all over the house.
As characters move through a crawl space at Patrick's house, one of them briefly opens the door and finds a weird secret room full of Roman architecture with Grandpat inside.
Who's a hungry boy? Dig in so you can grow up big and bristly.
The puppets are This way.
It's kind of a weird throwaway gag, but there's not really much to it, and they immediately move on with the episode without ever addressing it again. But something about this tiny, insignificant moment really stuck with me, even months after watching this episode. And when I watched it again, I couldn't help but notice that the door leading to the room is labeled XIV, the Roman numerals for 14, for seemingly no reason. Is this supposed to be the 14th room in the house or what? But then I remembered we've heard the number 14 before in the season 4 episode, Crusty Towers.
This room is hideous. Redesign it. Neptune the 14th would be nice.
What?
King Neptune is also referred to as the 14th. Is it possible that there's some sort of connection between Grandpat and King Neptune? I mean, that's even the way you would write a king's ordinal number, with the Roman numerals XIV. Also, the room is full of fancy royal Roman architecture, and the way Grandpat is relaxing and eating grapes like a king. Hear me out, hear me out. Is it possible Grandpat is King Neptune? We know Neptune has the power to change the way people look.
What the?
And it would explain why Grandpat, just a normal sea star, is able to be alive as far back as prehistoric times. He even has a prehistoric drawing of a starfish wearing a crown in his bedroom. This could even explain why they thought Patrick was a descendant of royalty in Rule of Dumb.
Which makes you a descendant of royalty. You are a king.
But wait a second. Why would the King of the Sea be pretending to be Patrick's cranky old grandpa? Well, remember, the Patrick Star Show is a prequel to the main series, and if you believe my Neptune theory, then you know Neptune wasn't always the King of the Sea. It's likely at some point he stole the throne and Poseidon's wife. So, what if this takes place before Neptune became king?
When King Neptune was a little Neptune, his mother set him adrift in a river.
When he was all alone, abandoned by his own mother, desperate to find the family that he was denied his whole life. So, how would he get one? Well, it turns out that there just happens to be one family in the sea that's dumb enough not to notice when new family members are added or replaced. The Patrick Star family. So, he transforms himself into the cranky old grandfather character, Grandpat, and secretly inserts himself into the family without their knowledge.
Who's this guy?
I have no idea. Do you see so?
So you can see him too, Bunny? I thought I was the only one.
I'm your grandfather, Grandpat. Must we do this every morning?
Finally giving him the family love he's been searching for his entire life.
Grandpat! We love you.
And if this all still sounds far-fetched to you, listen closely to the music we hear in this scene.
Who's a hungry boy? Dig in so you can grow up big and bristly.
This small piece of music is called Roman Legions, composed by John Kakavas, and it was used only one other time in SpongeBob.
Who's a hungry boy?
Behold Neptune, god of the sea, with his mighty trident.
In the season 10 episode, Trident Trouble, when they are introducing none other than King Neptune the 14th. Grandpat is King Neptune, and that is the Grandpat theory. Or at least it was until they released the episode Neptune's Ball, where we see King Neptune and Grandpat in the same room.
Man, I love your show.
And I'm really conflicted about this because yes, this obviously debunks my theory. Neptune and Grandpat can't be the same person if they're both in the same room. But then why does all of this evidence feel so specific and intentional? Like, most evidence I find can usually be explained as an Easter egg or a coincidence, but like, I can't think of any other reason why this random room would have the Roman numerals 14 on it. Maybe this was something they were setting up but changed their minds about, or maybe there's some sort of time travel shenanigans going on, because we know Patrick's family has a time machine in this show that they use all the time. Or maybe I'm just in denial and I'm overthinking small little random details. Like I've said, these are the theories that didn't make the cut for their own videos, so they're not all gonna be as strong as my main theories. But even if it's unlikely, I'm still gonna hold out hope that maybe I'll be proven right someday. Oh well, on to the next theory.
1.
This war reaches beyond the front line.
There's one ad.
That's right. You read the title correctly. This is the Goofy Goober Alien Death Cult Theory, and no, I am not joking. This seemingly innocent ice cream parlor is a front for something very sinister. The beloved SpongeBob movie actually has a much darker and tragic meaning to it. I am being 100% serious when I tell you that I think this is my best, most convincing theory yet. And if you thought my evolution theory was dark, well, get ready. This is the Goofy Goober Alien Death Cult Theory.
Let's get it.
Oh boy, Alex has finally lost his mind. Goofy Goober Alien Death Cult Theory? What, did he make that in a random word generator? Some people have already found this, but I hit a bunch of teasers for future theories in this random word generator. We got Robot Apocalypse, Ghost Pirate, and even Meet Muse Spore for when the series just became full films. Just a fun way to foreshadow things. Huh, I wonder if there's any teasers for future projects hidden in this video. Goofy Goobers is an old-fashioned ice cream parlor that first appeared in the SpongeBob movie. It's the very definition of a fun, innocent place for children. So, how on earth did I come to the conclusion that it's actually an alien death cult? In fact, what even is an alien death cult? Usually, it's a religious group that wants you to believe that one day aliens will come to Earth and take the members of the cult to a better place. And in order to get there, they have to commit mass suicide. The most infamous example of this being Heaven's Gate. Like I said, this is going to be a very dark video with some serious subject matter. So, how does this have anything to do with Goofy Goobers? In the more recent seasons of SpongeBob, they've started referencing Goofy Goobers again. In fact, there's even an episode called The Goofy Newbie where Patrick gets a job there. And it's in this episode when Patrick is watching an employee training video that I first realized there was something more going on here.
The story of our ice cream begins with our founder, Reginald Goober, who for some unexplained reason was nicknamed Goofy. In 1842, he headed west in a covered ice cream wagon. He served as warm ice cream on rocks and sticks. From those humble beginnings, Goofy Goober has grown into a multi-billion-dollar business.
You know, it's a pretty standard company video. They just want their employees to wash their hands and keep their work area clean.
We only ask that you, 1, practice good hygiene, 2, maintain good work habits.
Nothing out of the ordinary, except there's one more thing that they want you to do.
And 3, believe in extraterrestrials.
Peace, hugs, and ice cream!
Huh. An organization that wants you to believe in aliens. That couldn't be a Heaven's Gate reference in SpongeBob, could it? No, that's crazy. And even if it was, it could just be a random throwaway gag. There's no way Goofy Goobers is actually a cult, right? But then I started to rewatch every appearance of Goofy Goobers, and things took on a whole new meaning. One of the most basic ideas of a cult is that they strip you of your individuality and make you change your entire identity to be about the cult. And that's exactly what Goofy Goobers does. Everyone there wears Goofy Goober uniforms just like a cult. I mean, what other restaurant has not just employees, but customers that always dress up in a specific way? And their theme song that is constantly repeated and reinforced is just the simple line,
I'm a Goofy Goober, yeah. You're a Goofy Goober, yeah. We're all Goofy Goobers, yeah.
I'm a Goofy Goober, you're a Goofy Goober, we're all Goofy Goobers. It is literally just a song saying that your whole identity is based around Goofy Goobers, and that's it. And in the SpongeBob movie, there's a scene where SpongeBob and Patrick have to try their best to not sing along to the theme song, and it literally causes them intense pain to not sing along.
Don't sing along, Patrick! I'm trying so hard!
It's as if they've been brainwashed and physically can't stop themselves from singing it. And you can't even just chalk this up to SpongeBob and Patrick being weirdos. 2 other fish can't stop themselves from singing along, even though it means they'll get beat up for it.
Goofy, Goofy, Goober, Goobers, yeah!
And just like how many cults have an icon or god that they worship, Goofy Goobers has the dancing peanut mascot that's all over the restaurant's branding. I mean, just look at how excited all the kids are when he comes out.
Goofy Goober!
Alright, but just because kids like a mascot doesn't mean that they have some kind of religious worship for them. Well, if you don't believe me, take it from SpongeBob himself.
Open your eyes, Patrick! We blow bubbles, we eat ice cream, we worship a dancing peanut for corn's sake!
We do not worship him.
Patrick, you've been wearing the same Goofy Goober peanut party underpants for 3 years straight! What do you call that?
Worship?
Oh, yo! That's a bit damning.
In the SpongeBob movie video game, there's even a Goofy Goober token that reads, "In Goofy we trust," replacing the word God with Goofy. Things are looking awfully culty, aren't they? Cults will also often create reading material about their beliefs for their followers to read, and Goofy Goobers is no exception to this. In the new SpongeBob spin-off, The Patrick Star Show, we see a Goofy Goober employee reading some kind of book about ice cream. And look at him, he's not busy working, he's choosing to read this in his downtime. I mean, compare him to Squidward, who sometimes reads in his downtime at work. It's not like he's reading about the Krusty Krab. This book looks a lot like it's a doctrine for a cult's beliefs. A major part of how cults get so successful is by getting their followers to give them money. Now, obviously Goofy Goobers charges people for ice cream, but they actually convince their followers to trade their money for a made-up Goofy Goober currency.
I don't know what Plankton's paying you, but if you let us go, I can make it worth your while.
What is this?
That, sir, is $5 Goober dollars. Legal tender at any participating Goofy Goober.
This would explain how the Goofy Goober founder, an idiot who sold ice cream on rocks and sticks, turned the company into a multi-billion-dollar franchise. He convinced people to believe that aliens would one day take them to a better place and got them to give him all their money. Another tactic that cults use to indoctrinate people is overloading them with compliments and making them feel special, and that's exactly what Goofy Goobers does to Patrick when he gets a job there. The trainee video says that they appreciate him.
Hello and welcome. As a new Goofy Goober employee, we'd like you to know that we appreciate you.
And then his manager says the exact same thing.
I'm your manager, and I want you to know that I appreciate you.
And then despite Patrick messing up and causing chaos, the manager says it once again.
I'll give you another chance tomorrow. If it doesn't work out, I'm afraid you're fired. In a most appreciative way.
There is no reason for the manager to be this appreciative of Patrick after all the terrible work he's done. He's just trying to emotionally manipulate him. The tactic is especially effective on vulnerable people like children, and we see this in the Patrick Star Show. Not only did Patrick start eating Goofy Goober ice cream when he was young, and eventually ended up working there and worshiping their god, but this green kid also grew up to become an employee at Goofy Goobers. There's a clear pattern here. Kids who eat the ice cream all eventually join the cult.
That's not the same person, bro. The teeth are different. He got more teeth. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. That's a stretch.
Alright, yeah, I agree they look different, but this isn't even like a theory. This scene is literally a flashback from the Peanut Guy's perspective. The show is directly telling us that they're the same person. They are specifically targeting children for indoctrination, but their manipulation goes far beyond just psychological tactics. Trust me, we've just scratched the surface of how far Goofy Goobers will go to brainwash its members. Things are about to get darker.
Hold on, this is kind of getting weird. I'm getting goosebumps. Yo, this is weird!
There's a part in the SpongeBob movie where SpongeBob and Patrick go to Goofy Goobers and eat tons of ice cream all night to the point where they become completely drunk off of it. It's a really funny scene, but it begs the question, why does the ice cream get them drunk? Maybe that's just how ice cream works in the SpongeBob universe, and it's the show's way of making a family-friendly alcohol reference. But we've seen other instances where characters eat tons of ice cream and it doesn't have this effect on them. Alright, well, maybe this was just a one-time gag for the movie, and it's not a consistent part of the continuity. But in the Season 11 episode, Call the Cops, we get this scene.
One too many Goofy Goobers again, eh, Patrick?
So, another deliberate reference to Goofy Goober ice cream having a weird alcoholic effect on people. Is it possible that they put something in the ice cream to make people more open to cult indoctrination? Cults have been known to use drugs to keep their followers obedient and suggestible, one of the most infamous examples of this being Charles Manson, who used LSD to convince his followers of his beliefs. If this is the case with Goofy Goobers, they'd probably want to make sure everyone there eats as much ice cream as possible, and the Goofy Goober building is actually cleverly designed in a way to ensure that this happens. There are no windows in the entire building, so you can't tell whether it's day or night, and the Goofy Goober clock just has random numbers on it, so it's impossible to keep track of time. Because of this, SpongeBob eats ice cream all night and is actually late for work for the very first time. Also, can I point out the fact that the eyes on the clock seem to follow Patrick around in the Goofy Newbie? It's a really creepy and specific detail to include. I mean, we know from the movie that the eyes are usually supposed to be looking straight ahead, but here they're always watching Patrick, their next target for indoctrination. Now, if the ice cream is what keeps their followers in line, they definitely want to make sure their employees were eating as much as possible. And it turns out, Goofy Goobers actually has a policy about this.
Wow, I can't believe Goofy Goober's employees get to eat all the ice cream they want on this job.
The employees get to eat all the ice cream they want. Very interesting. And there's evidence to suggest that the ice cream can do a lot more than just make you suggestible. At the beginning of the Goofy Newbie, Patrick is holding up the line asking for samples of ice cream. The employee he's talking to gets frustrated and calls for security to kick him out.
Hey, you sampled every flavor we have. Will you please just pick one?
I would like you to use my spoon.
Security, we have a sample mooch at the counter.
But there's something oddly familiar about this employee. Hang on a second. Isn't that Patrick's sister? The new spin-off, The Patrick Star Show, is a prequel to the main show that introduces us to Patrick's little sister, Squidina. And here, we see her all grown up, working at Goofy Goobers. She's even credited as Squidina and has the same voice actor.
No, it's not. Look at the head. You're saying the hat. No, the hat. Look at her head. Her head right here is thicker than the head. You're telling me when she grow, her head not gonna get bigger? BS.
Again, I agree the designs look different, but the show is telling us in the credits that they're supposed to be the same character. This isn't a me problem, this is the show's problem, not mine. Also, this is another theory where I don't really have much new stuff to add, so I'm just gonna respond to this guy's reaction video because I think he's really funny. In the Patrick Star Show, we actually do see her eating Goofy Goober ice cream as a kid, which fits with the pattern of kids who eat the ice cream eventually getting indoctrinated into the cult. Now, Squidina and Patrick have a very close, loving relationship in the Patrick Star Show, but here, they act like they're total strangers. It's not surprising that Patrick would forget his own sister, but Squidina is always portrayed as being smart. It's almost like she completely forgot about him. One of the biggest tactics that cults use to indoctrinate people is isolating them from their friends and family to make them more vulnerable and dependent on the cult.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're seeing here with Squidina. She has no memory of her family. The ice cream might just be affecting her memory as well. I mean, if she was just meant to be some random reusable character here with no continuity, why would the creators go out of their way to specifically credit her as Squidina, unlike the other random employees who are just credited as employee? Feels like they're deliberately trying to draw attention to it.
Oh, never mind. She has the same name, so I can't debate it. They're the same name.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Never mind. At the end of the Goofy Newbie, Patrick goes crazy and eats a ton of the ice cream, and then the episode ends in a very interesting way.
Peace, hugs, and ice cream.
Now, I don't think Patrick was actually abducted by aliens. I mean, we see him on Earth in the very next episode, and the UFO has the same fake look as the one in the training video. I think that because of all the ice cream he ate, he now fully accepts the Goofy Goober's beliefs, and it's caused him to hallucinate the UFO. So, at this point, I'd say we can make a very strong case for Goofy Goobers being a cult, but with this realization comes a very dark and tragic new meaning for the SpongeBob movie. Believe me, you will never look at that movie the same way again.
Some people spend hours digging through
There's number
competitors'
2.
websites. You don't have to.
Second ad.
Use SEMrush to instant
The 2004 SpongeBob movie is my favorite thing to come out of the franchise. It's funny, it's emotional, and it encapsulates everything great about SpongeBob. In this movie, SpongeBob goes on a journey of self-discovery and realizes that he doesn't need to change who he is and grow up to fit into society. He just has to embrace his inner kid and be himself. It's a great message that feels really fitting for the character. But if you replace the word kid with Goofy Goober, SpongeBob's arc takes on a whole new meaning. It's not about SpongeBob embracing being himself. It's about SpongeBob fully accepting the indoctrination and beliefs of the Goofy Goober cult. The movie starts with SpongeBob not getting promoted to manager of the new Krusty Krab, a job that he desperately wanted and believed that he would get. When he finds out that Squidward got chosen instead of him, it completely destroys him. Cults will target vulnerable people who are at extremely low points, and the first place that SpongeBob goes to after having his heart broken is Goofy Goober's. After a night of getting drunk off of ice cream, he becomes resentful of Mr. Krabs and decides to tell him off.
I deserve that manager's job, but you didn't give it to me, because you say I'm a kid. Well, I am 100% man, and this man has got something to say to you.
In fact, if King Neptune didn't interrupt and try to kill Mr. Krabs, SpongeBob probably would have quit and been fully able to join the cult. SpongeBob and Patrick go on a quest to retrieve Neptune's crown, and it's almost like every obstacle they face along the way is specifically designed to make SpongeBob and Patrick realize the dark truth about Goofy Goobers, but they fail to do so at every turn. So, they first stop at this tough guy bar that's full of men who beat up anyone that isn't manly enough. But I think there's actually a lot more going on here than it seems. This place actually has an insane amount of similarities to the Goofy Goober ice cream parlor. They're both shaped like boats, they both have bikes out front and a bar inside, and they both have two-word titles that start with the same letter, Goofy Goobers and Thug Tug. Is it possible that this place is actually a former Goofy Goobers establishment that was abandoned? I mean, they literally have the Goofy Goober theme song on hand.
SpongeBob, it's the Goofy Goober theme song.
And they claim that no kids are allowed here, yet we see some old kid-sized handprints in the bathroom.
How the fuck you know those are kid-sized handprints? It could just be a different breed of fish.
You know what? I actually agree with you on this one, man. The handprints definitely were a stretch. I'm better than that. That's my bad. If this really is a former Goofy Goobers, then these guys would probably know the truth about the cult, which would explain why they're so against having anyone who's not manly in the bar. It's not because they hate kids, it's because they're trying to keep out a dangerous cult. If SpongeBob and Patrick just stuck around a little longer, maybe they would have learned this too, but they quickly sneak out and even make fun of the tough guys at the bar.
Come on, Pat, one more time.
Okay. We're on a baby hunt. I don't think we don't know how to weed them out.
Clearly, they didn't get the lesson they were supposed to from this place. Then they go through a fish graveyard and stop at a random ice cream stand, but it turns out it was actually a trap for a monster to lure unsuspecting victims.
Okay, Patrick, let's... you can let go now.
An ice cream store that's a facade for something darker that lures people in and keeps them trapped. It's like the ocean is literally screaming the truth to SpongeBob and Patrick, but they just aren't getting it. But then they reach an obstacle that's just too great for them to pass, and it makes them reevaluate some things about themselves.
We're not kids.
Open your eyes, Patrick! We worship a dancing peanut for corn's sake. You've been wearing the same Goofy Goober peanut party underpants for 3 years straight.
Oh, you're right, SpongeBob.
It isn't until Mindy helps them realize that they're more than just Goofy Goober kids that they can continue on their journey. They sing an entire song about how they believe in themselves now, and Patrick even says this.
Now that we're men,
I changed my underwear.
They have finally broken free from the cult's indoctrination, but unfortunately, it doesn't last very long. They're stopped by a hitman Plankton hired to take them out, and he completely destroys all the progress they've made to grow as characters.
step aside and you won't have to feel the awesome wrath of our mustaches.
These.
They were fake.
Of course they were fake!
They end up getting abducted by a scuba diver who, to them, is a terrifying alien from another world, which is an interesting parallel to Reginald Goober being taken by aliens. They're taken to Shell City in a room full of dead fish, a place eerily similar to a death cult after a mass suicide. While SpongeBob and Patrick are being dried to death, they decide to fully embrace the Goofy Goober's beliefs and spend their last moments alive singing the Goofy Goober theme song.
I'm a Goofy Goober, yeah. You're a Goofy Goober, yeah. Goofy, Goofy, Goober, Goober.
But then, just like death cults always promise, they and everyone in the room are reborn when the sprinkler system turns on.
This shit is dark as hell. He is not lying.
They're
Nah,
literally
for real.
dying for this fucking cause. Oh my god. No. No, it's getting too much. No. No.
Hey, wait a second. I thought you said the whole SpongeBob movie was fake, and I thought you said Shell City was actually full of victims from the Human War. I'll get back to this in the mini-theory, but it makes sense, trust me. Then we get to the climactic finale of the movie. SpongeBob returns to the Krusty Krab, now a changed man. He has to battle Plankton and his army of mind-controlled slaves, and this is how the final confrontation plays out.
And if I've learned anything during that time, it's that you are who you are. So yeah, I'm a kid, and I'm also a goofball, and a wingnut, and a knucklehead McSpagatron.
What's going on here?
But most of all, I'm...
Hey, settle down. Take it easy. What the scallop?
I'm a Goofy Goober!
I'm a Goofy Goober. On first watch, this is such a satisfying and cathartic moment for SpongeBob, but in reality, this is the moment that he has gone past the point of no return and becomes a Goofy Goober. Now, this is normally when I pretend like the video was over and then surprise you with a last-minute twist, but I don't need to pretend this time. If you think this entire video has been insane rambling and none of this could possibly be intentional, well then just for you, I have saved my best piece of evidence for last. Are you ready?
Yeah.
While SpongeBob sings the Goofy Goober song, we cut to him standing on the world and getting abducted by a UFO. And even the UFO's lights make a pattern of red, yellow, red, which is eerily similar to the Goofy Goober UFO that has two red cherries with a yellow banana in the middle. And that is the Goofy Goober alien death cult theory.
Alex Bale, bro. Dude.
I don't even know what to say. We lost him. We lost Patrick. We lost him and Patrick. They're done. Bro, it's over.
Yup, they got him. They got him. Patrick, they got you, gang.
I'm crying. I shed a real tear.
Becomes the Goofy Goober. Now, this is when I pretend like the video was over.
I do believe it. I mean, I think it's passable. It's definitely passable. I'm not mad at it. It's not a bad theory. I mean, it goes pretty well.
Thank you, Waka, and thank you all of the reactors. Love you guys.
Why do you keep recommending Alex Bale? Let's see. Oh, it's the SpongeBob conspiracy guy.
Stay soft with 100 days of freshness. Our new 3D technology locks in fragrance
Two
and
more
neutralizes
ads.
malodor.
Two more ads.
Celebrate 100 years of cheese expertise. Win your share of 1 million rand in
ads are
prizes with
getting-
Parmalat cheese.
Alright, the Goofy Goober alien death cult theory. Honestly, half the reason I made this theory was just because of how funny the title was. And I think that's probably why this one is gonna go in 7th place for me. That I think this is my best, most convincing theory yet. Yeah, in hindsight, maybe that statement was a little exaggerated, but I did really like this theory when I was making it, and I still definitely do. It's not a bad theory. I think there is definitely some really undeniably culty things about Goofy Goobers, but I think the biggest issue is that a lot of my evidence relies a little too much on specific real-world comparisons to real cults. I think the best fan theories mostly use evidence or the internal logic directly from the media itself, instead of trying to apply some specific outside real world logic to something that isn't real. And that's especially the case with a surreal cartoon like SpongeBob. But you know, even if it's not my strongest, it's still a really funny and absurd idea that surprisingly still kinda works. And why else are you even watching YouTube SpongeBob conspiracy theories if not to see something extremely stupid being taken extremely seriously and yet still somehow make sense? Okay, mini theory. So, when it comes to SpongeBob theory crafting, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie is a pretty contentious topic. Why is there no continuity between the movie and the show? Does the movie take place in the future as the canonical end of the SpongeBob timeline like many people believe? Or does it take place when it was released between season 3 and 4 and it was just a fake movie production that holds no continuity? But wait a second, if it's supposed to be a fake movie production, then why does it also seem to have a secret narrative about joining a goofy goober cult? Is Shell City supposed to be a mass suicide room from an alien death cult? Or are these victims from a human fish war? This is the issue with creating so many wildly different theories about the same show. Sometimes not everything is gonna line up perfectly, and I was ready to just give up and take the L until I noticed something really strange in the season 3 episode As Seen on TV. In the beginning of this episode, we find out Mr. Krabs has hired Squidward to direct a Krusty Krab commercial.
We're shooting our first ever Krusty Krab commercial. I got Squidward organizing the whole thing. He's, you know, artsy. What the? This looks expensive.
But when he sees the production Squidward put on is way bigger than he would need for just a tiny commercial, he scraps the whole thing and shoots a lower budget one himself. But there is something very strange about the production Squidward was directing. Squidward's set has a second Krusty Krab, just like the SpongeBob movie.
Well, how do you explain that? A second Krusty Krab?
What inspired you to build a second Krusty Krab right next door to the original?
Okay, that's a weird coincidence, but whatever. But that's not all. Squidward's production also has the same giant leg with a heel and fishnet stockings that Patrick wears at the end of the SpongeBob movie.
That's right, keep moving!
You know what? Like, they're not exactly the same, but you gotta admit, this is starting to feel a little too specific to be a coincidence, right? Is it possible the production Squidward directed for the Krusty Krab commercial was actually the in-universe production for the SpongeBob SquarePants movie? This episode came out in 2002, which is the same year the real-life SpongeBob movie began production, and the similarities don't even end there. In the background, we can see a fish dressed with almost the exact same hat, red bandana, and boots as Dennis, the hitman Plankton hires in the SpongeBob movie.
He's a vicious, cold-blooded predator!
It's clearly not the same guy, but listen to what Squidward says when we see him.
Mr. Krabs, everyone needs an understudy.
What if this is Dennis's understudy? We also see Mr. Krabs' understudy, who could be the stand-in for him while he's frozen for most of the movie. And then we see a guy in a giant tomato costume, and what I assume is another guy in a giant Krabby Patty costume. And I think they're supposed to be the Patty Wagon, and they're just doing some kind of visual effects that would require people to be in the suits. But regardless, there is an undeniable amount of similarities here. I think there is a very good chance that this is the actual in-universe SpongeBob movie production. But if that's all true, then why are they pretending like this is all just a commercial for the Krusty Krab?
We're making the commercial, Mr. Krabs.
Well, remember, in my television theory, most of the characters don't know they're inside of a semi-scripted TV show or movie. It's a big secret the showrunners are keeping from them, so obviously they would want to come up with some sort of cover story to keep this production a secret from the unaware characters like SpongeBob. Squidward even has SpongeBob bury himself in this episode to keep all the behind-the-scenes production a secret.
What are you doing, lad?
Squidward said I could help by burying myself.
So that means Squidward is not only a spy who's part of the television theory cover-up, but he's also the director of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. And I know that sounds a little strange. Why would they choose Squidward, of all people, to direct this movie? And even if he was chosen for some reason, does this movie really feel like it was something Squidward made? Like, one of the main things we know about Squidward is that he is such a self-obsessed narcissist who glorifies himself in all of his art. So why would a movie he directed be any different? Well, what if I told you it's not? In the SpongeBob TV show, Squidward is treated like this loser punching bag of a character.
Don't say anything, Squidward. Remember your karma.
But in the SpongeBob movie, for the first time ever in all SpongeBob media, Squidward is kind of presented in a surprisingly flattering way. He's the one who's given the promotion of new Krusty Krab manager because apparently he's so much more mature and responsible than SpongeBob, despite us obviously knowing how little care or effort he puts into his job. And when the entire town is dumb enough to wear Plankton's mind control helmets, Squidward is the one character who's smart enough to see through the ruse and figure out Plankton's entire plan.
You may have hoodwinked everyone else in this backwater town, but you can't fool me. You set up Mr. Krabs. You stole the crown so Neptune would freeze him and you could finally get your stubby little paws on the Krabby Patty formula. But you made one fatal mistake. You messed with my paycheck, and I'm gonna report you to the highest authority in the land, King Neptune.
Like, does that not sound like something Squidward would add to the movie to make himself look better? He even gets this really great monologue at the end of the movie to wrap things up, and it makes him seem so inspiring and poetic.
After going on your life-changing journey, you now realize you don't want what you thought you wanted. What you really wanted was inside you all along.
Of course, it gets cut off by a joke, and he doesn't actually win against Plankton, because this is still the SpongeBob movie at the end of the day, and he probably didn't actually write it, but he still manages to make himself look really good, and it's because Squidward Tentacles directed the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. I think there's a lot of evidence to support this, but I still don't really know why. Out of all the people in Bikini Bottom, why did they choose him? Well, I think it all ties back in with Goofy Goobers. In the season 12 episode, The Goofy Newbie, we see something really strange on one of the tables. A Goofy Goober ice cream that looks exactly like Squidward. Now, I noticed this back when I was first making my Goofy Goober theory, but I never really knew what to do with it. It's just this really weird background detail that makes no sense. Squidward isn't even in the episode, and we've never seen him have any interactions with Goofy Goobers. But remember, what is the one thing we know about the things Squidward creates? He always makes them in his own image. He does this with all of his art. So if Squidward was to make ice cream, I think this is what it would look like. So this kind of implies that Squidward does have some kind of connection with Goofy Goobers. Either he works there on the side and literally made this ice cream, or Goofy Goobers made it in his likeness because he's some sort of important member of the organization, sort of like how cults will get celebrities to join them. And if Squidward is a member of the Goofy Goobers cult, it explains why there's this secret underlying narrative about the cult in the SpongeBob movie. It's like they got the director of the movie to include some kind of subtle propaganda about how joining Goofy Goobers is the only way to set yourself free. This isn't literally a mass suicide room, but it was an intentional similarity made by Squidward to promote the cult's ideology. In fact, I think this also explains why Squidward was chosen by the showrunners in the first place to direct the movie. Not only is Goofy Goobers heavily featured in the SpongeBob movie, but there's also this weird implication that they had some kind of behind-the-scenes influence over it. Bear with me for a second. About halfway through the movie, we get a classic SpongeBob title card with the French narrator speaking.
Ew.
Meanwhile. But instead of the usual generic background, it's clearly Goofy Goober themed, despite the scene having nothing to do with Goofy Goobers. I think Goofy Goobers, being a multi-billion-dollar organization, helped to fund the in-universe SpongeBob movie in exchange for having some influence over it. Not only were they able to include all this subtle cult propaganda in the movie, but they had the power to choose a director from their organization to include this narrative. And they chose Squidward Tentacles to become the director of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. And that is the Squidward director theory.
What are we on? Another one. It's gonna be number 5.
Alright, so I admit it, some of my theories have been a little crazy lately. I mean, Goofy Goober, alien death cult theory, Pearl's dead mother theory. Let's maybe try and slow down a bit on this one. There is a secret robot invasion happening in Bikini Bottom. Everywhere you look, robots have integrated themselves into society, kidnapping and replacing people with robot cyborgs, waiting for their chance to rise up and start the robot apocalypse. This is not a joke. I repeat, the robots are coming. The robots are coming.
This is the robot invasion theory.
One of my favorite episodes of SpongeBob is the season 3 episode Crabborg. SpongeBob watches a scary robot movie, then gets super paranoid about robots taking over, and even kidnaps Mr. Krabs.
What? You think I'm a robot?
We don't think, we know.
It's a really funny episode, but I can't help but wonder if SpongeBob's fears might be a bit more justified than we thought. In the episode SB129, we get our first glimpse of the future of Bikini Bottom, 2,000 years later.
Okay, what's going on here? Why is everything chrome?
Everything is chrome in the future.
We see a world covered in chrome, where everyone has been replaced with robotic people.
SpongeBob, is that you?
SpongeBob? No! I am Spongetron.
And this isn't the only time we see a future full of robots. In the season 7 episode Back to the Past, SpongeBob time travels to an alternate future where Man Ray takes over, and once again, people have been replaced by robots. And then, in the second SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, there's a deleted scene where SpongeBob and Plankton go to the future and see this.
We did it! I wonder when we are. Excuse me, sir. Do you know what year this is? Cyborgs? We didn't go back in time. We went front in time.
There's also 2 new episodes, Welcome to Binary Bottom and PL1413, that show us the future taken over by robots. I'll talk about them a little more at the end of this theory. And there's even foreshadowing in episodes that take place in the present. In the Krusty Krab training video, we hear this.
Well, luckily for you, Mr. Krab's fear of robot overlords keeps the balance of technology in check.
And in Insecurity Guards, we can see an exhibit that clearly shows the evolution of SpongeBob eventually getting taken over by robots. Okay, so there seems to be a lot of evidence for the future of Bikini Bottom being taken over by robots. But honestly, why does any of this matter? I mean, robots ruling the world is a pretty common depiction of the future in lots of different media. And even if this is the canonical future of the show, it's at the very least thousands of years in the future. It's not like we can already see this robot invasion happening in present-day Bikini Bottom, right? Here's an interesting question about SpongeBob that's always bothered me. Why are there so many robots in the show? And I'm not talking about Sandy or Plankton's inventions. It makes sense for them to have robots since they're both genius inventors. But why do hospitals and office buildings and amusement parks and Weenie Hut Juniors and many, many more places have such advanced robots? I mean, let's ignore the fact that they're underwater and robots wouldn't really make sense down here. Bikini Bottom isn't like a super advanced society, right? You wouldn't really say that they have much futuristic technology, except when it comes to robots. But why? And what's even stranger is that there are many instances where these robots suddenly turn evil. The first time I really started to notice this was in the season 7 episode Tunnel of Glove. SpongeBob and Pearl get trapped in a Glove World boat ride that's full of animatronics. Patrick tries to set them free by breaking into the control room, but accidentally causes all the animatronics to suddenly turn evil and attack SpongeBob. Now, this is a pretty basic cartoon trope. Someone accidentally breaks the controls, then the robot malfunctions and turns evil. This isn't really all that weird for SpongeBob. Except, what's strange about this is that Patrick doesn't break any controls. He hits a button labeled Animatronic Override, and that's what causes the robots to turn evil.
I'll just gingerly lean on this wall. Huh?
They aren't malfunctioning. The robots were intentionally designed to have a button that makes them attack people, but why? Then, in the episode Good Neighbors, Squidward discovers a flyer for a home security system that's suspiciously free despite it clearly being very advanced. Yeah. After he sets it up, his house suddenly grows arms and legs and starts destroying Bikini Bottom.
Wow, Squidward's house is destroying the neighborhood.
Now, to be fair, this was a malfunction caused by SpongeBob, but why would a simple home security system have giant arms and legs? I mean, the malfunction didn't create them, they were clearly already installed. They eventually do manage to stop the house, but what's really creepy about this is that we can still see signs of Squidward's house being sentient after this episode. Then, in the season 11 episode Krusty Cleaners, SpongeBob and Patrick go to an office building and encounter a trash cleaning robot. The robot immediately attacks them for causing a mess.
Oh, my rump is roasting!
But this time, there's no malfunction that causes this. It's working exactly as intended. Not only does the trash robot have a buzzsaw and a literal laser cannon, but it also turns all of the nearby machines into killer robots to help hunt down SpongeBob and Patrick. So, where are all these places getting these super advanced robots? And more importantly, why are they all being programmed to suddenly turn evil? This is a question that stumped me for a while, until I watched the season 11 episode, My Leg. This is the episode where I truly realized there was an actual conspiracy theory here and not just cartoon antics. It's time we finally find out who is behind the robot invasion. The episode, My Leg, focuses on the reoccurring gag of this one fish always injuring his leg throughout the show.
My leg! My leg! My leg!
At one point in the episode, he goes to a hospital and meets a robot that works there. It's just a small throwaway gag. The robot never turns evil or does anything strange.
Don't take my leg! Don't take my leg!
But there's something awfully familiar about the robot's design. Let's go all the way back to the season 3 episode Plankton's Army, which opens with Plankton trying to steal the Krabby Patty secret formula with a robot disguise.
You never know what trick he'll use to steal me secret Krabby Patty formula.
What a quaint restaurant. I think I will sample their wares.
These robots have an uncanny similarity, right down to the same tie. Okay, but maybe we could just chalk this up to the showrunners being lazy and reusing assets. But SpongeBob has always had a pretty diverse amount of robot designs throughout the show. And it's not like this is a direct copy-paste either. They went to the effort to redesign the face and colors, but it was still clearly based on Plankton's robot. So, here's my theory. Plankton has built many robots to try and steal the Krabby Patty secret formula, but I think after he fails to do so, he doesn't just throw them away. He redesigns the robots and then gives them to different businesses in Bikini Bottom with the intention to one day use them to take over the world once he has enough in place. I mean, we know what Plankton really wants isn't the secret formula, it's to rule the world.
I will rule the world!
And there's even the video game, Battle for Bikini Bottom, where Plankton tried to take over using an army of robots. Many people commented this, but this also could explain how Plankton stays in business despite never having any customers.
He probably sells them, because how else is he funding himself? People don't eat at his fucking restaurant. Oh, that's okay.
I like that. That's a very cool point. Good job, guys. So, this theory doesn't seem too far-fetched for Plankton's character, but we're gonna need a lot more evidence if we're gonna prove he's the one behind all the robots in Bikini Bottom. So, let's get started. In the season 3 episode, No Weenies Allowed, we see a robot working at a place called Weenie Hut Juniors.
Would you care for another Diet Cola with a lemon twist, Weenie?
And while it doesn't resemble any of the robots we've seen Plankton make, does that voice sound familiar to you?
Would you care for another Diet Cola with a lemon twist? What a quaint restaurant. I think I will sample their wares.
And again, it's not like this is the default robot voice we hear in SpongeBob. There are many different voices the show has used for robot characters.
What a quaint restaurant.
Greetings, I am Robo 2.1.
No threat detected. This is very uncomfortable.
Leave my father alone!
But here, they specifically recreated the voice from Plankton's robot. Let's go back to Glove World for a second. In the control room, we see a machine on the wall that looks shockingly like SpongeBob. So much so that Patrick even mistakes him for it. We know Plankton has built a SpongeBob robot before in Welcome to the Chum Bucket. Maybe he repurposed it here inside of Glove World. In Krusty Cleaners, the trash robot also has a striking resemblance to Plankton's robot in the season 9 episode Eek and Urchin. In the season 5 episode The Patty Gadget, Squidward tries to get SpongeBob fired by replacing him with a machine that creates Krabby Patties for free. But it's never explained where Squidward got this machine. Now, it doesn't resemble anything we've seen Plankton make, but a staple in a lot of Plankton's inventions is having them resemble his likeness, especially with one eye in the middle, and that's exactly what we see with the Patty Gadget. And the patties it makes are terrible, which would make sense for something Plankton made. In the episode All That Glitters, SpongeBob buys a super advanced talking spatula.
Listen,
Spatula 3000 at your service.
But in the episode Evil Spatula, we find out Plankton has a whole collection of advanced spatulas just like this one, and even tries to trick SpongeBob into taking a talking spatula. Also, in House Sittin' for Sandy, we see Sandy has a warehouse full of robots that eventually go rogue and fully destroy her tree dome. Now, I knew about this back when I was first making this theory, but I didn't mention it because it didn't seem like there was any way to connect it back to Plankton, since we know Sandy could have easily created these robots on her own. But in a new Season 14 episode, Hysterical History, we actually do see Plankton chasing Mr. Krabs with the same robot.
At least Bikini Bottom is normal now.
So maybe he actually was the one who gave Sandy the robots after all. She's not even surprised to see Plankton with the same robot.
Yep, totally normal.
It seems like no matter where we turn, we can find a connection between the technology in Bikini Bottom and Plankton. But if you remember in those glimpses of the future, the world isn't just ruled by robots. They've actually replaced all the existing citizens with robot copies.
I am Spongetron.
And believe it or not, this is also something we can already see happening in Bikini Bottom today. Get ready to see how far this robot invasion has really gone. Now, we know Plankton has tried to turn people into robots before.
SpongeBob, come in here. Or should I say Robot Bob?
But he gave up after SpongeBob was too annoying.
You've got to take that yellow nightmare back. It's not worth it.
But I don't think this was his only attempt. In the Season 11 episode, The Checkup, SpongeBob and Squidward are trying to give Mr. Krabs a health checkup by testing his pinching reflexes.
Okay, I brought plenty of things for Mr. Krabs to pinch. A pinch of salt.
And one of the things they have him pinch is a baby.
A baby's cheek. Lucky that was a robot baby.
Some random baby just turned out to be a robot, and it's never explained why. That's weird even for SpongeBob. But things get even more interesting when we go back to Season 9 in the episode Plankton's Pet, where Plankton tries to steal a Krabby Patty using the exact same purple baby as a robot disguise.
That diabolical fiend! I can't believe this is working!
And we're not even done yet. If we go even further back to the Season 5 episode, Goo Goo Gas, we can actually see the exact moment where Plankton gets the idea to turn the baby into a robot.
Why, you're so tiny and helpless, I could take your formula whenever I wanted to, and you couldn't do a thing about it.
That's it! Finally, victory will be mine!
Now, in the episode, it's implied that this is just him getting the idea to turn everyone into babies to steal the formula, but isn't it crazy how it also perfectly lines up with the purple baby fish suddenly turning into a robot in future episodes?
Dude, Plankton took up taxidermy, bro! Stuffed a baby's skin with robot parts, bro!
Now, there's another fish who's always been very suspicious to me. The strangely realistic news anchor fish.
All of Bikini Bottom is abuzz over the identity of a mysterious flying man who helps people. Who knows what superhero act of courage he'll astound us with next?
In a show full of cartoon characters, why is he the only realistic one? In fact, I made a whole theory about how there are evolved cartoony fish that can talk and primitive realistic fish who can't. But as many people have pointed out, the one exception to this is the realistic news anchor fish. Well, if you ask me, he looks a lot like one of those animatronic singing fish you buy in a gift shop. Especially the way he mechanically moves his mouth and how we only ever see one side of him. So, already a pretty strong indication that he might be a robot, but there's also something familiar about his voice.
What kind of cruel, careless, evil person? I'll canvass all the seediest lowbrow dives in town.
Yo.
Canvass all the seediest lowbrow.
What? Plankton! It does sound like Plankton. I never caught that. Plankton controls the news?
That's right. He has the same voice as Plankton. And if you're gonna take over the world, then you're definitely gonna want to control the media. But then how did he grow hair in the Mrs. Puff theory if he was actually a robot all along? Fucking, I don't know. Maybe robots can just grow their hair, okay? I don't know, man. You try making 8 SpongeBob theories and having them all connect perfectly, okay? But how exactly is Plankton replacing these people with robots? Well, I think the Season 10 episode episode, Whirly Brains, gives us an important clue. In this episode, suddenly a new toy becomes extremely popular in Bikini Bottom, the Whirly Brain.
Just flip your lid, attach the propeller, and watch your brain soar 100 feet into the air.
Yeah, it's a weird episode. So people are actually voluntarily attaching devices to their brains and ripping them out of their bodies, and no one thinks that this is suspicious? If you ask me, this seems like the perfect way to replace someone with a robot. Remember, in Welcome to the Chum Bucket, Plankton told us how he turns people into robots.
I'll be forced to remove your brain and implant it in my robot chef.
By removing their brains. But is there any proof that he's the one behind the Whirly Brain toys? Let's take a look at the new SpongeBob prequel, The Patrick Star Show. Every once in a while, the show cuts to this stop-motion parody of Frankenstein with Plankton, and he actually uses Whirly Brains to conduct his experiments. It's not super clear how this all connects to the main show. I mean, we do see Patrick interact with the stop-motion Plankton at some point, so they're at least in the same universe, but regardless, it's still a solid connection. We see another head-based gadget in the season 11 episode Bottle Burglars, an invisible helmet being advertised in a magazine for only 99 cents. And in the same episode, we see Plankton using the exact same helmet.
Crabs will never see me coming in Vizzos.
I ain't gonna lie, my boy was very muscular. Look at, god damn, Plankton. That boy got abs for days.
Now, maybe this is just implying that he bought the helmet from the magazine, but that doesn't really line up with what we know about Plankton as an inventor. Plus, I can't see them selling a tiny version of the helmet just for Plankton. Seems a lot more likely that Plankton created the helmet and is selling them to the people of Bikini Bottom, possibly as a way to create more robots.
How hard does this nigga have to watch these shows to catch these? How hard? Like, I feel like he's watching this shit too hard. Like, this man has like a magnifying glass.
This was pointed out to me, but there was this one time Gary's shell exploded and exposed a robotic motor.
Gary?
But since it was just a one-time gag and there's no other robot connections with Gary, I don't think there's enough to make a case for our robot Gary theory. Alright, so we're starting to get a pretty clear idea of how Plankton plans on turning the citizens of Bikini Bottom into robots. But there is one more character that I believe has already been secretly assimilated into a robot. And it's not some random background character either. It's one of the main characters in SpongeBob SquarePants. This final part of the robot invasion theory is going to completely change the way you look at the entire show. Are you ready? Because this is the Patrick Star theory.
Patrick?
There's number 6.
Now, I fully realize saying Patrick is a robot is a very bold claim. But hold your judgments till the end. By far, the most requested theory I get on this channel is to cover Patrick Star, and more specifically, his inconsistent intelligence. Throughout the entire show, there are these little moments where Patrick suddenly says something smart.
I'm a bit more complicated than that. The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma.
And then immediately goes back to being dumb. There's so many examples of this happening that many people have actually made their own theories about it. Is Patrick secretly a genius and just pretending to be dumb? Does he have a secret split personality?
I diagnosed Patrick Star with trauma-induced anxiety triggered spontaneously duplicative multi-intellectual DID with additional paranoid schizophrenic delusions of a mental multiverse.
Whoa!
Maybe, but I've come to a bit of a different conclusion. Have you ever noticed how every time we see Patrick try to think, there's either sparks or smoke coming out of his head?
It's Patrick thinking again.
And almost every time we see inside of Patrick's head, it's represented with gears or some kind of machinery. Now, we're supposed to assume that this is just a cartoony way to visualize thoughts, but what's strange is just how consistent they are with it. And even stranger, none of the other characters' thoughts are visualized this way.
Just got an order from the boss. Dump everything that isn't about fine dining. Squidward words, Happy Gland is forced to take shelter in the recesses of his mind.
It's only Patrick who seems to have this robotic association with him. And just look at how detailed they are with it. While Patrick's head is sparking in Rule of Dumb, if you look closely, you can see a spring pop out of him and even a hole left behind by the spring. That is such a small detail that no one would notice unless you were going frame by frame. And if this is just supposed to be a metaphor inside of Patrick's head, how come SpongeBob clearly sees the spring come out? Alright, so now that I've done my imagination theory, some of this evidence doesn't hold up as much, but even looking back on it, it's still just strange how many robotic connections there are with specifically Patrick. I don't know, I still think it works. Okay, so let's entertain the idea for a moment that Patrick might be some sort of robot. How would he have gotten converted, and why does this cause him to randomly become smart every once in a while? Well, I looked at all the scenes where Patrick suddenly does something smart, and I noticed a bit of a pattern. There are two different types of these moments. There are times when we think he's saying something intelligent.
Wait, SpongeBob! We're not cavemen! We have technology!
But then it's revealed he's not actually being smart. This doesn't contradict his character at all. Patrick is someone who doesn't see himself as dumb, so there's lots of times when he tries to be smart, but he fails.
Dumb people are always blissfully unaware of how dumb they really are.
But there are also moments where he actually does do something undeniably smart.
Wait a minute, Squidward. They might be onto something.
We could filter the CO2 through our ballast tanks, refire the engines, and ride the shockwave out of here.
Wow.
He's right.
But then he immediately acts oblivious to the fact that he was being smart.
We're going through with your plan, Patrick. Yay!
What plan?
So, I kept track of these two different types of moments, and it seems like after season 3 is when he suddenly switches from pretending to be smart to actually having these smart moments. And this switch perfectly lines up with the season 4 episode, Patrick's Smarty Pants. In this episode, Patrick falls off a cliff and gets his head knocked off. SpongeBob accidentally replaces his head with some brain coral, which makes him become a genius.
I find all this laughter to be highly illogical.
In the end, they switch back to his normal head and Patrick goes back to his usual stupid self. But take a closer look at the scene when he first puts on the brain coral.
Here's your head.
Now, many people have interpreted these gears with cobwebs as a metaphor for Patrick's brain never being used until now, but these gears are not from Patrick's brain. His brain came off during the fall, which means these gears are entirely from the brain coral. And at the end of the episode, when they remove the brain coral, we can still see the electrical plug attached to it. We are no longer seeing a metaphorical representation inside of someone's head. We are seeing this plug from an outside perspective. The brain coral is just like the Whirly Brains, a robotic device that plugs into your brain to control you. Isn't it convenient that Patrick just happened to land next to a pile of coral that looked identical to his head? Is it possible that Plankton saw this as an opportunity to add another victim to his robot invasion? But after Patrick removed it, he went back to normal, right? He completely stopped Plankton's plan, right? Well, one season later, in the episode Sing a Song of Patrick, Patrick attempts to use his brain again, and we see the exact same gears inside of his head.
Come on, you stupid brain! Work!
The creators went out of their way to recreate the exact placement of all the gears from the brain coral, which means the head Patrick put on at the end of Patrick's Smarty Pants was not his head. It was another piece of robotic brain coral. But it seems like for whatever reason, this brain coral isn't as effective as the first one, and he's only able to have rare moments of genius. Okay, so I know this whole brain coral theory relies on a lot of assumptions, and it could definitely be stronger, but come on, they literally showed us that his brain still has the exact same gears from specifically the brain coral. Like, what else could this even be implying? I feel like this alone is one of the best pieces of evidence in this video. In the season 12 episode, SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout, Patrick has another one of his smart moments.
Oh, would you look at the hour? It's almost time for me to take SpongeBob on that tour so you guys can decorate his house.
But this moment in particular is very interesting because Plankton is actually there to witness it. And take a guess how Plankton responds to him.
I guess even a broken moron can be right once a day.
He calls Patrick a broken moron because he knows Patrick is a broken one of his experiments. And if you still don't believe me, in the newest episode of season 13, The Goofy Scoopers, we get this scene.
This stinks. I wanted to go backstage for an autograph.
Plankton was here. Yes, he certainly was. And that is the robot invasion theory. Thank you very much.
Bro, look at his fucking hand. Yo.
Okay, so before we move on, I have got to bring up a new SpongeBob episode that recently came out called Welcome to Binary Bottom.
Submitted for your approval. A trip to Binary Bottom.
This episode shows us a version of Bikini Bottom called Binary Bottom, where everything and everyone has been replaced by robots.
Morning, SpongeBob.
So, obviously, I was like, holy shit, robot invasion theory confirmed, let's go, another W. But it doesn't exactly line up perfectly with my theory. In this episode, Plankton has also been replaced by a robot, and not like a mastermind overlord robot running the show, but a tiny, useless robot who can barely move.
Come back here, you nickel-plated nincompoops!
Plankbot, you forgot to wind yourself again.
Thanks, Karen, my flesh and blood wife.
Also, Karen, the only character who was a robot, is now just a regular fish for some reason. So, yeah, unfortunately, this episode is probably just a non-canon alternate universe where all the robots and living things have switched places. It doesn't seem to have any connection to the implied future robot invasion in my theory, unfortunately. Unless I was wrong about Plankton being behind the robot invasion. Okay, hear me out. All of the evidence tying Plankton to the robots also ties back to Karen. She has access to all of Plankton's inventions. So this is a bit of a crazy alternate idea, but what if Karen is the one who's actually been behind the robot invasion all along? Okay, so this one might be a bit of a stretch, but here's how I think you could make it work. Either Karen was the one behind the robot invasion, or it was a plan she and Plankton had together, but she eventually turned on him. Plankton treats his wife Karen terribly throughout this show.
Plankton, you've fallen in love with another woman? I'm your wife.
Yeah. Your new screensaver is stupid, and it makes your processor look fat.
What?
Karen, I want you to meet my new computer wife, Karen 2.
Karen 2?
What if this future where he's a pathetic, useless robot is actually Karen's way of getting revenge on Plankton for the years of mistreatment? A way to sort of switch their roles, so to speak. She even turned herself into a fish, a thing that's possible in this wacky universe, just take my word for it, so that she was the one in control. She's the only one in this whole town with free will. Again, kind of a crazy idea. There's not a ton of evidence for it, but it's a fun new way to look at this theory, and it's a bit less obvious than Plankton being the one behind it. That's all I had to say. Let's move on to the wrap-up. Actually, wait, hold on a second. After I finished recording this new section, a new episode of SpongeBob was released called PL 1413. It's sort of a remake of SB 129, where Plankton is accidentally sent into the future instead of Squidward.
The future must be pretty great if everything's made of chrome.
Now, the designs of the characters are different, but it still shows a future where robots have taken over. We don't get to see too much about how this world ended up this way or who's in control, but the episode ends with this scene.
See you 2,000 years ago!
You can come out now, Plankton 2.0.
I thought he'd never leave.
Once again, it seems like Karen has replaced Plankton with a version she can control. He even kind of looks like the ideal version that we saw when SpongeBob went inside of Karen's brain.
Actually, I'm Karen's version of Plankton. You know how she'd like to see me?
So yeah, I don't know how all of these different futures connect, but it does seem like Karen being in charge is consistent. Okay, now we can finally move on to the wrap-up. Actually, wait, no, one more thing. Literally, right after I recorded this, another SpongeBob movie leaked onto Twitter, and this one's all about Plankton. I can't show any footage from it yet, but it does involve Karen getting sick of Plankton and turning on him and trying to take over the world by herself. It doesn't really, prove my theory, but, you know, it's more Karen evidence. I'll take it. I think we should be done. We should be good to move on to the wrap-up. Unless something else gets leaked. Are we good? Nothing else? Okay, let's go.
7.
Alright, the robot invasion theory. I'd probably put it somewhere in the middle at like 5th place. It's good. It's a pretty good theory. I think there's a lot of evidence that robots are secretly trying to take over, and there's a lot of evidence connecting it back to Plankton or maybe Karen now, but that's kind of the problem. It's just a lot of evidence. This whole video is mostly just me reading off a list of robot examples and connections. It makes for a strong theory, but there really isn't as much of a compelling narrative to keep you engaged, and I think a good theory video needs to have both. Like, for example, the Mrs. Puff theory isn't just me telling you every time Mrs. Puff acts crazy, It's me telling you the tragic story of this very sympathetic character. You've got a reason to keep watching and actually feel something when I reveal a dark plot twist. But this theory, I don't really give you as much of a reason to care about Plankton's plan or the victims turning into robots, and that's fine for a mini theory, but this was almost 20 minutes long, and you've already watched 6 of these. I think the new ideas about Karen definitely help make it a little more interesting, and overall, it's still a really fun idea. It just maybe could have been executed a little bit better. Okay, those are my thoughts. Time for the real reason you guys are watching this video. Okay, so the actual most frequent comment I get on any of my videos is, "Where's the jellyfish theory?" And I get it. I tease this whole jellyfish alien invasion theory as sort of a misdirect in Don't Feed the Muse 2. This may be my darkest theory yet. This is the alien jellyfish invasion theory. The idea was that the plot of the theory was actually foreshadowing the plot of Don't Feed the Muse, but a lot of people still really wanted to see that theory, and I still get comments about it to this day, and for good reason. I was definitely clickbaiting you guys there. And to be completely honest, I only chose that topic because it lined up so well with the film I was making. I didn't actually have a theory planned for it, but now that I've really looked into it a bit more, I do think there's actually a surprising amount of things to say about this topic. I think it might actually be one of my best mini theories in this video. So finally, here is the long-awaited alien jellyfish invasion theory. Aliens have invaded Bikini Bottom and taken the form of jellyfish. One by one, they replace the citizens of Bikini Bottom with identical clones, slowly taking over the population from within. Throughout the entire show, there have been hints of these alien jellyfish secretly controlling people and pulling the strings from the shadows. This may be my darkest theory yet. This is the alien jellyfish invasion theory.
Let's get it. One of the creepiest episodes of SpongeBob is, by far, the Season 8 episode, Planet of the Jellyfish. A mysterious green alien appears in jellyfish fields and starts spreading alien jellyfish clones all over Bikini Bottom. By getting the people to wear the alien jellyfish as hats, one by one they kidnap and replace the citizens of Bikini Bottom with identical clones. This whole episode is very much a parody of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers films. Eventually, SpongeBob discovers the weakness of the aliens is none other than mayonnaise, and he uses it to kill the aliens and set everyone free. But how free are they, really? Afterwards, Mr. Krabs decides to resell all the remaining alien goo as a new Krabby Patty condiment.
Freaky clone jelly relish!
Get your freaky clone jelly relish patties!
And the episode ends with Patrick ordering one of these patties, but without mayonnaise.
I'll have one relish patty. Hold the man.
We're left on this cliffhanger where Patrick might still very well be an alien clone. And that's it. It's been 11 years since this episode came out, and there has been no continuation of this story since then. So, is Patrick an alien? Are the Jellians still somehow around, secretly plotting another takeover? Well, before I answer that, I can actually tell you exactly where these aliens came from. The background of the title card for this episode shows a barren alien planet, but we've actually seen this exact planet before. In the Season 4 episode, Squid Bob Tentacle Pants, Sandy is experimenting with a new teleportation device and accidentally sends SpongeBob and Squidward to an alien planet for a few seconds.
Well, Here goes nothing.
The exact same alien planet we see in the Planet of the Jellyfish title card. Now, the aliens we see on this planet don't really resemble the Jellians, so at first I thought maybe the Jellians were originally just a different species somewhere else on this planet, but then I noticed in the background we see this orange and yellow ringed planet that isn't present in the Jellyfish title card. Planet of the Jellyfish is obviously a parody of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and in that franchise, the aliens invaded Earth because their original home planet was dying. So what if this planet was the original homeworld of the Jellians, but just like in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the planet died sometime between Squid Bob and Planet of the Jellyfish, and that's why the jellyfish invaded Earth. The spots on the planet even look like a jellyfish. Okay, so that's where I think the Jellians came from, but where are they now? Is Patrick actually an alien clone at the end of Planet of the Jellyfish? No, he's not. And not because I just claimed he was a robot. The Jellian clones all have black eyes and act in a very obviously alien way. And Patrick here looks and acts completely normal. But then why does he ask for a Krabby Patty without mayonnaise? Well, maybe it's as simple as he just doesn't like mayonnaise. Also no. And it's not because of this scene.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
It's because of the way the season 4 episode Hocus Pocus ends. When SpongeBob somehow figures out how to perform real magic, and Patrick asks SpongeBob to do this.
Hey, SpongeBob, I'm still hungry. Will you turn me into a jar of mayonnaise so I can eat myself?
Patricka, mayonnaise-a-ga.
Patrick could have asked SpongeBob to turn him into literally any food, and he chose mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is his favorite fucking food, which means there is no way he would ask to hold the mayo at the end of Planet of the Jellyfish unless he was being controlled by the Jellians, at least to some extent. So, even if he's not a full-on alien clone, I think he is being affected by the Jellian goo he ate, but in a much more subtle, dormant way. It's kind of like how rabies has evolved to make people afraid of water because the virus spreads faster without it. The Jellian goo is subconsciously making people avoid mayonnaise in order to keep itself alive. Now, there are little hints that maybe these Jellians are still around, influencing people in future episodes. Gary, Sandy, and even Patchy all mention later that they don't like mayonnaise.
Gary hates mayo.
I don't like mayonnaise neither.
Hardy, you know I don't like mayo.
And there was this shaman guy in season 9 that had a jellyfish on his head. But, you know, other than these random one-off moments, that's kinda it. So maybe there is a secret jellyfish invasion going on, but like I said, I chose this theory because it fit the film I was making, not because there's any smoking gun evidence to prove it all. I mean, it's not like there's a whole convention of people wearing jellyfish hats, right? Oh, yeah, I forgot about these guys. So, in the Season 2 episode, I'm Your Biggest Fanatic, we're introduced to the biannual Jellyfish Convention, where all the jellyfish enthusiasts in Bikini Bottom can meet up and enjoy their hobby.
Wow, I can't believe it. We're actually here at the biannual Jellyfish Convention.
Jellyfish are awesome.
Now, there were people wearing jellyfish hats here before the Jellyfish Invasion episode, but it's maybe like 10% of the people. But 4 seasons after Planet of the Jellyfish, we get an episode called Jolly Lodgers where we see the convention again, and literally like 99% of the people there are wearing jellyfish hats now. Huh. I guess it just got a little more popular, you know, I guess it's not that weird. But not only does the convention seem a lot bigger, but there's some interesting new activities going on. We got increasing your sting endurance, get buff jellyfishing, do you want to be a jelly, totally legal? Maybe that's just like a little suspicious. And just listen to the way these people talk now.
Belong with us now.
Okay, these guys are Jellians. They even surround Squidward in the exact same way the Jellians surrounded SpongeBob and Sandy. Look, the creators literally recreated the shot. I'm not crazy. crazy. These guys are fucking jellians. And we even see people still wearing these jellyfish hats after the convention. In one of the newer episodes in season 14, we see a random fish wearing a jellyfish hat, even though he's not at or going to a jellyfish convention. But what's really strange here is that when Bubble Bass opens a window, everyone's stuff flies off except for this hat. It is really stuck on there. It really feels like there is some kind of alien clinging to his head. We also see Kevin's fan club, the Jelly Spotters, again in season 14, except now they've all got jellyfish hats, and they've replaced their leader, Kevin, with Patrick.
He got kicked out of the club years ago.
Which kind of makes sense since Kevin can't really wear a jellyfish hat since he's got that thing on his head.
I didn't know this was a hat.
It wasn't. So they got someone else who the aliens could actually replace to be in charge. It makes sense. The Jellians are back, and they're using this convention to secretly add people to their alien hive mind collective. In fact, I'm even pretty sure that they successfully replaced Squidward in this episode. Throughout this episode, Squidward is trying to escape this convention, but they keep cornering him and even force him to wear a jellyfish hat. But then, at the end of this episode, he finds an empty jellyfish mascot costume and decides to use it as a disguise to escape.
Say, if I put that dumb thing on, I can sneak out of here without anybody knowing it's me.
And it pretty much works. He manages to get away from everyone else.
I've got peace and quiet. I've got peace and quiet.
But wait a second. Let's go back to the establishing shot at the very beginning of this episode. Do you notice anything strange here, other than the stuff I've already pointed out?
What?
Hidden in the bottom right corner is the jellyfish mascot Squidward will eventually put on. But if that's the case, then why can we already see Squidward's feet coming out of it? This is way before Squidward puts on the costume to escape. We literally see him outside of the costume in the very next shot. Squidward can't also be here unless they already made an alien clone of Squidward, and at some point during the episode, they switch places. Squidward and everyone here has been replaced by the alien jellyfish invasion. And also replaced by the robot invasion, and also brainwashed by Goofy Goobers, and also being secretly controlled by the showrunners. A lot of people are trying to take over Bikini Bottom, okay? There's your jellyfish theory. You could stop commenting about it. Alright, so this time, instead of ending with the big twist, I'm just gonna open with it. The Flying Dutchman is the ghost of Patchy the Pirate. This is a claim that makes absolutely no sense. They look different, they act different, and most importantly, Patchy the Pirate is alive at the same time we see the Flying Dutchman. It would be impossible to prove that they're the same person, right? Well, you know, I like a challenge. This is the time-traveling ghost pirate theory. Before I get into how these characters connect, I have to explain the tragic backstory of Patchy the Pirate.
I'm Patchy the Pirate, president of the SpongeBob SquarePants Fan Club!
Patchy the Pirate is the president of the SpongeBob Fan Club, and they often cut to him during special episodes to host the show and talk to the audience. He fits in perfectly with my television theory, and clearly works for the in-universe SpongeBob SquarePants showrunners as some kind of mascot for the show.
Boring! Well, if it isn't my less than amusing sidekick, Potty the Parrot.
Patchy is this weird, lonely guy whose only friend is a talking parrot who's constantly harassing him, and I'm also pretty sure Patchy wants to eat him.
Shiver me timbers, it's Potty!
I wonder what parrot tastes like.
But that's not what this theory is about. If you rewatch all the episodes with Patchy, you start to notice a bit of a disturbing development with his character. Patchy has devoted his entire life to SpongeBob, but that devotion is very one-sided, and the more time that goes on, the more resentful Patchy becomes of SpongeBob. In the season 3 episode Party Pooper Pants, Patchy throws a house party and tries to invite SpongeBob, but he doesn't show up.
Say, you didn't bring SpongeBob with you, did you? Gee, I sure hope he got his invitation.
I'd sure like to go to this party, but I can't read the invitation.
But Patchy doesn't really seem to be that upset about it.
Ah, well.
But then things start to take a turn in the episode The Sponge Who Could Fly. Patchy follows a map and goes on a crazy adventure to find the legendary Lost SpongeBob episode, and after finally getting it, this is what plays.
That's it? That's the lost episode? That was just a bunch of cheap walk cycles! What a rip!
So, Patchy got let down by SpongeBob again, but I'm sure he'll get over it just like last time.
SpongeBob betrayed us! I'm sorry I ever started this stupid fan club in the first place!
Patchy has a full-on mental breakdown. Now, eventually he does find the real Lost episode and goes back to normal, but this is just the start of Patchy's transformation into a much darker character. In the season 6 episode Truth or Square, Patchy throws a massive television extravaganza to celebrate 10 years of SpongeBob. There is a ton of production value and celebrities that Patchy managed to get. There is no way SpongeBob wouldn't show up for it.
SpongeBob SquarePants! What do you mean he's not coming? 10 years I've been president in his fan club!
Patchy has dedicated 10 years of his life to SpongeBob, and he can't even be bothered to show up once. And this never even gets resolved in the episode either. Patchy tries to find SpongeBob, thinks he's about to meet him, but then it turns out it was all just a dream.
Mister, are you okay?
SpongeBob?
No, it's just me. The guy in the penny.
Patchy's one-sided obsession with SpongeBob is making him delusional, and this is by no means the last time Patchy will hallucinate meeting SpongeBob. In Atlantis SquarePantis, Patchy gets lost in the desert and once again hallucinates SpongeBob.
Uh-oh, here come the hallucinations.
It's me, SpongeBob SquarePants.
But then, in SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout, it seems like he finally really does meet SpongeBob.
From your biggest fan. Huh? I have a fan?
Surprise! It's Patchy the Pirate! Happy birthday, SpongeBob!
Thank you, Patchy.
But even if they don't explicitly say it, this is definitely another hallucination. It's right after he crashed into an island, and he's just a severed head for some reason, and he can breathe underwater. Yeah, I'm gonna say that this is a hallucination. They have another alleged meeting in SpongeBob's Road to Christmas special, but this time Patchy's fully animated for some reason, so I'm pretty skeptical about this one too. In fact, I'm gonna come back to this one. Keep it in mind because it's gonna be very important later on. So, as much as Patchy worships SpongeBob and wants to meet him, he never will. And you don't have to take my word for it either. In a 2009 WonderCon panel with some of the actors and creators of SpongeBob, they talk about the rules they have for writing the show, including the fact that Patchy can never meet SpongeBob.
His character has evolved into this pirate that's obsessed with SpongeBob. Well, they can never meet. Right?
Well, yeah, they can never meet. There's a lot of rules in SpongeBob which are there for a reason, which I think is part of the success in a way.
From the very start of his creation, they doomed Patchy to be an obsessed fan who would never meet his idol. He will spend the rest of his life devoted to SpongeBob, but no matter how hard he tries, he will never reach Bikini Bottom, and he will never meet SpongeBob. And unfortunately, that is the tragic story of Patchy the Pirate. But if all of that's true, then I just have one lingering question. How come the dumpster behind the Krusty Krab has a message that reads, Patchy was here? Don't go anywhere, because the time-traveling ghost pirate theory is about to get crazy. I'll come back to this message later, but first, we have to talk about the mysterious origins of the Flying Dutchman. The Flying Dutchman is the legendary ghost pirate that haunts Bikini Bottom.
In a pirate ship, The Flying Dutchman descends on Bikini Bottom.
The first time we hear about the Flying Dutchman is in the episode Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost, when SpongeBob finds a comic book about his origins.
It's the origin of the Flying Dutchman. It says when he died, they used his body as a window display. Now he haunts the 7 seas because he was never put to rest.
Now, I've always been a little skeptical about this origin, not just because it's claiming they put an actual human corpse up as display in a kid's store, but because the Flying Dutchman himself contradicts it.
It's a little torn. Of course, it was the shirt I was buried in.
He was never put to rest.
If he was buried, then this origin can't be true. So, who is the Flying Dutchman actually? Well, when I rewatched all the episodes with the Flying Dutchman, I kept noticing that he seems to have some kind of fixation with SpongeBob in particular. In the episode Shanghai, he dropped his anchor on SpongeBob's home, which leads to him having to briefly join the Dutchman's crew. Then, in Born Again Krabs, he's about to take Mr. Krabs' soul, but then immediately changes his mind when SpongeBob offers his soul instead. And even in the Camp Coral prequel show, he haunts SpongeBob as a kid. But strangest of all, in Ghost Host, the Dutchman's ship gets destroyed, and out of all the places in Bikini Bottom he could stay, he decides to stay with SpongeBob.
My location where I'll be staying? Business or residence? Residence.
And look at the way he mischievously smiles when he sees SpongeBob. It feels like this is personal for him, but why? The episode Ghost Host is actually the first time we get a bit more depth of the Flying Dutchman's character. At first, he spends all of his time torturing SpongeBob, but eventually, he just wants to stay and hang out with him.
Maybe stay with a friend for a while. Just for a little while longer.
Even though his ship's already been repaired for 3 months.
Actually, I have a confession, SpongeBob. My ship's been done for 3 months now.
It feels like the Dutchman has some kind of vendetta against SpongeBob specifically, but also, deep down, he's just lonely and wants to be SpongeBob's friend. And does that remind you of anyone? Someone who's desperate to be SpongeBob's friend, but also has a deep resentment towards him. Okay, but there's like a bunch of reasons why the Flying Dutchman couldn't be the ghost of Patchy the Pirate. I mean, for starters, they look totally different, right? Different shirt, different hat, and most importantly, the Dutchman doesn't have the iconic hook and eye patch that Patchy does. This is the point where I was about to give up and scrap this theory, but then I decided to rewatch the Season 1 episode, Arg, where SpongeBob plays a board game called The Flying Dutchman's Treasure that's actually based on the Flying Dutchman's real map.
The Flying Dutchman's Treasure Hunt.
Based on a real treasure map.
And then I noticed something. One of the game cards actually shows a picture of the Flying Dutchman. I mean, look, he clearly has the same nose and face as him, but this looks like a picture of when he was still alive and had a darker black beard. But the hat he's wearing is not the usual Flying Dutchman hat. It is the exact same hat Patchy the Pirate wears. Okay, but he still doesn't have the eye patch and the hook hand, right? Well, yeah, but here's the thing. Neither does Patchy. Patchy's hook is always switching hands, and he constantly takes off his eye patch, because Patchy isn't a real pirate. He's just pretending to be one.
The great thing about Patchy is that he lives in Encino, California. But he's a pirate. But the only thing that makes him a pirate is that he says he's one and dresses like one.
Okay, fine, but the shirt is still very different. You know, the Dutchman's is all open and it's got those stripy things. Patchy's is more fancy with the big white puffy collar and cuffs. Well, in The Curse of Bikini Bottom, we see the Flying Dutchman's closet and he pulls out the exact same shirt that Patchy wears. Same fancy puffy collar, same cuffs. Same shirt that Patchy wears. The exact same shirt that wears. Same.
Oh shit! Yo, it's over. I fucking love these.
Fine, okay? Maybe Patchy the Pirate and the Dutchman look the same, but that doesn't mean they're the same person. It's time we address the elephant in the room. The Flying Dutchman can't be Patchy's ghost because Patchy is alive at the same time we see the Flying Dutchman. Like, in order for this theory to be true, Patchy would have to die and then the Dutchman's ghost would show up, but they're simultaneously existing at the same time. Patchy even shows up during an episode all about the Flying Dutchman, and he even calls it his favorite episode.
We're gonna see me favorite show, Shanghai. Ta-da!
It is physically impossible for Patchy and the Dutchman to be the same person. Or is it? Things are about to get stranger. When I rewatched all the episodes with the Flying Dutchman, I noticed something strange. In the season 7 episode The Curse of Bikini Bottom, the Dutchman gets a girlfriend but starts to freak out when she wants to get married.
She wants to marry me! I ain't the marrying type.
But the Dutchman not being the marrying type isn't entirely true. Back in season 3 during Ghost Host, we see that the Dutchman was once married.
Is that a wedding ring?
Oh, this holds nothing.
Alright, but so what? You know, this just seems like a small continuity error between seasons, no surprise for SpongeBob. But in the season 6 special, SpongeBob vs. the Big One, there's an even stranger moment like this. The Flying Dutchman bumps into Mr. Krabs and says this to him.
Ah! It's a Flying Dutchman! Ah! It's some guy I've never seen before!
He says he's never met Mr. Krabs before, but there are 2 whole episodes from previous seasons dedicated to the Dutchman trying to steal Mr. Krabs' soul for being too greedy. They're even on a first-name basis.
Eugene Krabs! It's some guy I've never seen before!
Alright, so another weird inconsistency with the Dutchman, but I'm still not convinced that it's not just lazy writing. But back in The Curse of Bikini Bottom, there's a moment that cannot be written off as another continuity error. SpongeBob and Patrick accidentally shave off the Dutchman's beard, and the Dutchman claims the beard won't grow back for another 1,000 years.
Your beard will just grow back.
You know nothing of my facial hair! It'll take 1,000 years for my beard to grow back!
But by the end of the episode, we cut to several months later, and his beard is back.
The curse will wear off when my beard grows back.
Several months later.
She wants to marry me!
It's not like this is just some plot point they forgot about between episodes. This, several months later, is in the same episode where the Dutchman says the beard takes 1,000 years to grow back.
It'll take 1,000 years for my beard to grow back.
Several months later.
Why the fuck would they include this line if they were just gonna contradict it a few minutes later in the same goddamn episode?
Calm down, Alex.
They even blatantly mention that it's several months later twice, as if they're trying to make you realize how inconsistent it is.
Several months later.
Well, here we are several months later.
So, what does any of this mean? Why are the writers of SpongeBob intentionally making the Flying Dutchman as inconsistent as possible? Well, the only way that this makes sense to me is if we're seeing the Flying Dutchman non-chronologically. And by that I mean, the Flying Dutchman is time traveling. Just bear with me for a second. For SpongeBob, only several months have passed, but for the Dutchman, it actually was 1,000 years later. The Dutchman didn't recognize Mr. Krabs in season 6 because for him, this is the first time they've met. And from his perspective, the episodes where he tries to take Mr. Krabs' soul haven't happened yet. Okay, this is the one obvious contradiction I made in this theory. Why wouldn't the Flying Dutchman know who Mr. Krabs is if he's supposed to be Patchy, aka the #1 fan of SpongeBob SquarePants? Obviously, he would recognize one of the main characters of the show. So yeah, that's my bad. I think we could just throw this whole point away. I think the actual reason why the Dutchman doesn't recognize Mr. Krabs here is just because of the beard. And even if you take away this piece of evidence, I still think there's enough to make a case for the Dutchman having a messed up continuity. The Dutchman's not the marrying type in season 7, but he probably actually does end up getting married to the giant monster, and that's why we see him with a ring in season 4, because the past is the future for the Flying Dutchman. Whoa. Okay, let's calm down for a second there, Alex. This time travel idea does fix a lot of problems with the Dutchman's continuity, but claiming a character has time travel powers is a major leap. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Flying Dutchman is a very powerful ghost. He can teleport, he can shapeshift, he can grant wishes, but we've never seen him manipulate time.
You get 3 wishes.
Wishes? I wish we had known that earlier.
Okay, you got 2 wishes left.
Huh. Okay, so the Dutchman's time traveling. And you know what this means? The Flying Dutchman could absolutely be the ghost of Patchy the Pirate, and I'm gonna prove it.
I believe you. Another ad for us. Another ad for us.
So, if Patchy the Pirate eventually becomes the Flying Dutchman, that means at some point in the future, Patchy is going to die. Except, here's the thing. I think Patchy is already dead in present day, and we have already seen his death on screen. Remember that Christmas special I told you would be important later on? It's the season 13 episode SpongeBob's Road to Christmas, and as of recording this, it's the latest episode in the SpongeBob timeline. SpongeBob does meet Patchy in this episode, but for some reason he's fully animated instead of using the usual live action style.
Ahoy, SpongeBob and Patrick! It's me, Patchy the Pirate!
It honestly feels kind of creepy for some reason, especially since the creators themselves said that Patchy could never meet SpongeBob.
Well, they can never meet, right?
Well, yeah, they can never meet.
Is it possible that this isn't the real Patchy? Well, the last time we saw live-action Patchy was in SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout, and that episode ended with him being fired out of a cannon and crashing into an island. Immediately after that, Patchy's severed head shows up and meets SpongeBob. But I already explained how this is clearly just another hallucination, and he's probably just gonna wake up on the island disappointed that he didn't actually meet SpongeBob like every other time. But what if this is something more than just a simple dream that he can wake up from? I mean, the last shot we saw of the real Patchy was him and Potty face down in the sand, struggling to get out. What if they didn't? And this is what Patchy is hallucinating as he dies. During this hallucination, he begins singing the show's theme song with SpongeBob to wrap up the episode.
Oh, who's having a birthday under the sea?
But as they're singing, we briefly cut to this horrifying shot of Patchy's body with Potty's head lying on the island, violently convulsing in pain. It happened so quick that I didn't even process it the first time. But goddamn, that is some terrifying imagery for a kids show. Why the fuck did they show this? Is this some kind of PG symbolic way to show Patchy and Potty suffocating to death in the sand? Holy shit. Okay, this is definitely the darkest thing I've ever found in SpongeBob. Please enjoy this compilation of people's reactions to it.
What the fuck is this? I never saw this, but my god, that's terrifying.
What? What? What is this episode?
Oh my goodness.
What?
Nah, that's scary.
Ah! Goosebumps.
Okay, so let's say Patchy and Potty, the hosts of the SpongeBob SquarePants television show, are dead. What happens now? Well, the show must go on. The SpongeBob SquarePants television show has to continue without him, but they need a new host to replace Patchy. Except, are they really gonna tell their young audience that their beloved Patchy the Pirate and Potty the Parrot are dead? No, they're gonna replace them with animated actors.
And they're using actors.
Hey, that's showbiz for you. Okay, so when I made this claim that Patchy was replaced by a fake animated actor, I was convinced that it was gonna get disproved like a week after I posted this theory, and live action Patchy would return and completely disprove the idea that he died. But not only has live action Patchy never returned in the 5 years since the creepy suffocation scene, but the creepy fake animated Patchy has returned once again for a 2023 Christmas special where he watches old SpongeBob Christmas episodes on a live stream.
5 viewers? Sweet Neptune, I'm going viral as scurvy at sea.
Potty even calls him an imposter.
What the? Back off, you flying freak.
I mean, he's referencing when he pretended to be Santa, but still. But what happened to the real Patchy after he died? Well, he became a ghost and could finally meet his idol SpongeBob, except when he goes to Bikini Bottom, what would he see? SpongeBob and all of his friends partying without him. Patchy dedicated his entire life to SpongeBob. He even died for him, and SpongeBob never even knew Patchy existed. And that resentment that's been building up inside of Patchy for all of these years finally explodes. And this is how Patchy the Pirate becomes the Flying Dutchman. Patchy is done pretending to be a pirate and dressing up in his fake costumes. He gets a new look, a new identity, and now he can finally live out the fantasy of being a real pirate. Remember that board game that they said was based on a real map from the Flying Dutchman?
Based on a real treasure map.
We never really did see the map that it was based on, or did we? Remember when Patchy was looking for the Lost SpongeBob episode? He used this map to find it. Now, at first I thought these two maps didn't look all that similar, but the more I looked at it, the more my mind was blown. Same red X in the middle, you got the compass, the palm trees, a turtle, a fish, but most importantly, they both have the forked tree.
Half a league to the forked tree.
look for the deacon's goose through the fork in the old tree.
That is a very specific detail. You would not just see that on any random map. The Flying Dutchman based his map off of the one from his past. So he's become the Flying Dutchman now, and his main target for haunting is, of course, the one who ignored him his entire life, SpongeBob SquarePants. But how did Patchy become such a powerful ghost who can even manipulate time itself? Well, there's actually an episode in Season 12 called The Ghost of Plankton that gives us a pretty clear understanding of how ghost powers work. It basically just takes time and effort to grow your powers. Patchy's already given SpongeBob 20 years of dedication, might as well go a little further with it as the Dutchman. Okay, let's quickly wrap up some loose ends people have commented about. Why would Patchy be called the Flying Dutchman if he isn't even Dutch? Well, maybe there already was a real legendary Flying Dutchman pirate out there, and Patchy just took his name. Cause that's kinda what Patchy does. He's a fanboy who likes to pretend. Okay, how did Patchy get his ghost ship? And what about the Dutchman's crew that was mentioned in that one episode?
It be me old first mate who stole me gold and me crew.
Stole your gold? We just went out to get pizza.
I don't know. It's implied Patchy's been the Dutchman for thousands of years and has the ability to travel to any point in time. That's plenty of time for him to find a ship and a crew and live out the pirate fantasy. You know, just because it's a ghost ship doesn't necessarily mean the Dutchman died with it. I mean, he has a ghost phone too. How come we see the Dutchman always stealing souls and taking them to Davy Jones?
Next up, Davy Jones' locker.
Doesn't that kind of imply he's more of a Grim Reaper type figure? Well, we've actually seen lots of ghosts try to steal souls in this show. In Money Talks, Mr. Krabs reveals he sold his soul to a whole long line full of different ghosts.
Well, I sorta sold my soul already. Get to the back of the line.
This is just speculation, but maybe stealing souls and giving them to Davy Jones is a way to make you a stronger ghost. It would explain why the Dutchman is such a powerful ghost who can even time travel. That should about cover everything. Back to the theory. Patchy travels back in time to visit all of his favorite, most cherished SpongeBob episodes, including his favorite episode, Shanghai.
We're gonna see me favorite show, Shanghai.
Except now, he's not just watching the episode. He's the one in control, and he's gonna make SpongeBob pay for everything he's done. And he's gonna make him pay over and over and over again. But then, we get to the episode Ghost Host. Patchy initially moves in with SpongeBob to torture him, but as much as he tries to deny it, deep down, he's still that devoted fanboy who just wants SpongeBob to be his friend. As much as he wants to pretend to be the Dutchman, deep down, Patchy is still here. And that is why, if you go to the Krusty Krab after closing, and you go out the back to the dumpster, you can still read the words, Patchy was here. Yes, he certainly was. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the time-traveling ghost pirate theory. Thank you very much. Oh shit, what about Potty? He died with Patchy too, right? What the hell happened to him? I can figure this out. Just give me a second. Let me just quickly rewatch every single episode of SpongeBob. Gotta watch the spin-offs too. Okay, let me see. The motherfucker ate him!
I wonder what parrot tastes like.
That is the time-traveling ghost pirate theory, baby. I am done. Woo! See ya.
What parrot tastes like.
That is the time-traveling ghost pirate theory, baby. I am done. Woo! See ya.
Hey, yo.
I'm running and I'm feeling like I gotta get away, gotta know that I don't and I won't ever stop, cause you know I gotta win every day. Just know that you will never find me.
Alex Bale's videos are the only ones that can make my eyes water through sheer excitement.
You guys are the best. I've loved watching all the reaction videos.
Protex is different. While other soaps work on the surface, Protex's breakthrough technology absorbs into your skin to give you 24-hour longer-lasting germ protection. Protex protects against 99.9% of germs.
15-second unskippable ad. What?
Okay, the time-traveling ghost pirate theory. I love this theory. I'd put it third in terms of believability, but in terms of just being like a really fun and compelling narrative, I'd say it's my favorite. It just adds so much depth and sympathy to both of these iconic but maybe a little one-dimensional characters. And yeah, maybe some parts of this theory could be stronger, but you gotta admit, it's crazy how much of it lines up perfectly. I know they're working on a new SpongeBob SpongeBob movie with the Flying Dutchman as like the main villain. So, you know, there's a good chance it'll just completely debunk my theory. But at the same time, the Sandy movie confirmed my television theory, so I don't know. I'm gonna hold out hope. So yeah, those were my 8 SpongeBob theories. It was really fun revisiting them and seeing how they all held up. I'm glad we were able to end on a high note with this last one. So, we have reached my final SpongeBob mini theory, and probably the final SpongeBob theory I will ever make. And it's fittingly the theory that I teased in the final episode of Don't Feed the Muse. I'm going to be proving that Larry the Lobster is secretly a drug lord kingpin that goes by the name Pinhead Larry. This is the Pinhead Larry the Lobster theory. I saved this one till the end, not because it's the best or the most shocking theory I've ever made. It might not even be the best mini theory in this video, but I saved it because it's the most ridiculous sounding one. Larry the Lobster is a drug lord kingpin that goes by the name Pinhead Larry is one of the stupidest and funniest sentences I have ever come up with in one of these SpongeBob conspiracies. And I think that's the thing that I love the most about making these videos. It's that you can come up with the most ridiculous, stupid ideas about the most mundane and unsuspecting topics, like a random side character in a kid's show, and then if you can still actually somehow make a pretty good case for it, it's just the most unexpected and magical feeling in the world. And it's why I have loved making a theory about a time-traveling ghost pirate or a goofy goober alien death cult. It's why I have loved making each one of these theories, and why I'll continue to make theories about other stupid, unsuspecting, mundane topics after this. It's been a wild ride. Let's begin our final SpongeBob theory.
Pinhead Larry the Lobster.
In the Season 2 episode, Survival of the Fittest, Sandy Sleep talks about fighting 2 infamous criminals named Dirty Dan and Pinhead Larry.
I've had enough of your dastardly deeds, Dirty Dan. I'm gonna get you and your partner, Pinhead Larry.
She later mistakes SpongeBob and Patrick for the criminal duo, and attacks and even buries them alive with their own gravestones. It's obviously an iconic episode, but I've always wondered who exactly were Dirty Dan and Pinhead Larry.
All right, Pinhead, your time is up.
Who you calling Pinhead?
Were they real people, or were they just someone Sandy made up? Are they legendary outlaws she heard about, or someone she actually fought from her past? It's a hard question to answer because they're really only mentioned in this one episode. The best we get later on is the words "Dirty Dan was here" written in graffiti on the back of a gym. Or that's at least what I thought, until I saw the Season 11 episode, Shopping List, where SpongeBob and Sandy travel to a snowy mountain and we briefly see them pass by 2 graves labeled Dirty Dan and Pinhead Larry. So we know they were definitely real people. Now, in the episode, Sandy seems kind of familiar with this area, and these are the exact same graves she recreated for SpongeBob and Patrick. So this seems to be implying that her dream was actually based off of a real memory of her fighting and killing Dirty Dan and Pinhead Larry here. Except there's one problem with that. How did Dirty Dan write this graffiti if he's supposed to be dead? I mean, I know it's not like we see when this graffiti was written, but it wasn't left on just any old random gym. It was written on the back of Larry the Lobster's gym. A gym that we saw Larry open in Season 9.
What you see before you is the culmination of my lifelong dream, Larry's Gym.
Meaning this graffiti must have been written long after Sandy would have fought and killed Dirty Dan and Pinhead Larry. So, how is this possible? How could Dirty Dan write this on Larry's gym if he's supposed to be dead? I think this means that the real Dirty Dan, and probably also Pinhead Larry, are not actually dead. They probably fake their deaths and are alive somewhere in Bikini Bottom. But where, and more importantly, who are they? Wait a second. Why would Dirty Dan write that he was here at this specific gym? Larry's gym. You don't think Larry the Lobster could be Pinhead Larry? That sounds stupid. Or does it? I mean, it would explain why Dirty Dan would risk exposing that he's still alive at a place Sandy probably frequents. Maybe he's leaving a message for his former criminal partner. Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. So, they're both named Larry, and you definitely could say he has a pin-shaped head. But Larry is friends with Sandy, and he definitely isn't a criminal, right? Maybe we need to take a closer look at our lobster friend. So, I rewatched every single appearance of Larry the Lobster in all 14 seasons of SpongeBob, and here's what I learned. Larry cares a lot about staying in shape and working out, to an obsessive degree.
My latissimus dorsi has gone flabby. I've got to get to a rowing machine.
He also hates when anyone else is out of shape and will do anything in his power to help them get fit.
Those poor people. Someone needs to whip them into shape. Looking out at this sea of flaccid muscles and sagging flesh, frankly, I'm disgusted. Push it! Push it!
Apparently, he was also raised by these two old fish.
But you guys are way too old and unsightly for my beach.
So polite.
Just like we raised him.
And to further confirm this, the same old ladyfish later says this during the Alaskan bullworm incident.
We should call my nephew.
Sounds like she could definitely be referring to Larry here, so I do think they're supposed to be his aunt and uncle. We also know he loves protein shakes.
Protein shakes saved my life, bro.
He used to be a lifeguard, but recently fulfilled his lifelong dream of opening up a massive gym.
The culmination of my lifelong dream. A place of my own where I can work out every day, anytime I want.
He's not the most complex character, and there's definitely nothing here to indicate that he's the former infamous outlaw Pinhead Larry. Except for one teeny tiny detail in the season 12 episode, The Nitwitting. In this episode, we very briefly see Larry working out at his gym, but we can clearly see that he's drinking a kelp shake. And that wouldn't mean anything to you unless you remembered the season 4 episode, Best Frenemies. In this episode, a new restaurant opens up selling something called a kelp shake.
Ah, a new store on my block.
Everyone's enjoying a delicious kelp shake.
They pop up out of nowhere, and we never find out who was really running them. The kelp shakes have an initial bad taste, but they are extremely addictive.
Ah, this tastes like a wet gym sock. Hey, this ain't half bad. This is amazing.
Like, to the point where people basically get hooked on it like a drug.
Crabs, we're all out of juice. Well, we gotta get more.
The Kelp Shake restaurant is later shut down, and the shakes are banned because apparently they have some kind of radioactive material in them.
What's happening to me?
It'll take decades to clean this hazardous material up.
I sure feel sorry for whoever drank this.
But then why does Larry have the same banned kelp shake 8 seasons later? Maybe this is just a random throwaway Easter egg? I mean, we never see him with a kelp shake again, just the generic protein shakes. Except, let's take a closer look at those protein shakes. In the season 11 episode, Larry the Floor Manager, Larry briefly takes over as manager of the Krusty Krab and turns it into a gym.
Now we only serve salad and protein power shakes.
He forces SpongeBob to sell protein shakes, and even though the cups look different, the color of the liquid is the exact same as the kelp shake. They even seem to have the same initial bad taste.
You like?
No, Larry. No.
I think every time Larry drinks or sells a kelp shake, he is actually selling the illegal, addictive kelp shakes from Best Frenemies. Now, we never see anyone grow any green hair, but knowing what we know about Larry, there's no way he would be drinking it himself if it had the same side effects. I think Larry was the one behind the original kelp shake restaurants, but after they were banned, he tweaked the recipe and started secretly reselling them as rebranded protein shakes. How else do you even explain Larry having the same kelp shake here 8 seasons after they were banned unless he's the one making them? In Squid Plus One, he even admits that he's the one who makes his protein shakes.
I just need to stop by the apartment and make myself a protein shake.
This explains how a lifeguard could suddenly afford to open a massive gym. He's secretly a kelp shake drug lord kingpin. And if you still don't believe me, we see Larry standing next to a protein shake store called Protein protein fiend that has a green kelp logo and the word kelp shake on the sign, clearly referencing the kelp shakes. And this is also the episode with the Mrs. Puff newspaper, so you know the creators were like in a hiding lore mood. There are too many connections here for this to be a coincidence. Larry the Lobster is the criminal mastermind behind the kelp shakes. But does this also mean that he was the former infamous criminal, Pinhead Larry, who faked his death? Well, believe it or not, Larry the Lobster has also had a near-death experience in his past. In Squid Plus One, Larry mentions that the protein shakes saved his life.
You don't need that glop. Oh, I wouldn't call it glop. Protein shakes saved my life, bro.
Like, what does that even mean? Okay, hear me out. What if this is how he survived his death? Sandy killed him and his partner, but the radioactive properties of the kelp shakes brought him back to life.
Protein shakes saved my life, bro.
So, of course, Larry would continue to drink and sell these kelp shakes. They literally saved his life. Even if they're radioactive and illegal, to him, this is a way to help himself and everyone around him become stronger, the thing we know he wants most of all. It explains why he gets so defensive when Squidward insults his protein shakes.
I love protein shakes.
Okay, but there's still an obvious issue here. If Sandy killed Pinhead Larry, why doesn't she recognize him now? Well, I think we get a possible explanation to this in the Camp Coral spin-off episode, Game Night, where the camp counselors play a board game called Lobster Trap. If you take away the beard and the eye patch, the lobster on the box looks exactly like Larry, a direct clue about Larry the Lobster being a criminal. Just like that Flying Dutchman game, I think this game is based on the real legendary criminal Pinhead Larry. This explains why Sandy wouldn't recognize Larry the Lobster. Either this is a criminal disguise he wore, or, and I'm just speculating here, it's actually what he used to look like and the healing properties of the kelp shake fixed his eye. And if you're still not convinced about Larry's criminal connections, I've saved my best evidence for last. Remember that old lady that raised Larry?
So polite. We should call my nephew.
She's just a sweet old lady. There's no way she would have raised a criminal mastermind, right? Well, in the Season 9 episode, Patrick Man, she is revealed to be none other than the Dirty Bubble.
Oh, dear.
The Dirty Bubble?
This random old lady was actually one of the most notorious criminals in Bikini Bottom all along. Man Ray's partner in crime, the Dirty Bubble.
Could she be also the grandma?
Man and Barnacle Boy's arch nemesis, the Dirty Bubble.
And I know what you're thinking. Maybe this is just a disguise he wore in this one episode. It doesn't necessarily mean this old lady has always been the Dirty Bubble, but I checked everywhere, and I can confidently say that we have never seen the Dirty Bubble and this lady in the same scene. And she's a pretty common background character. Also, she lives in the same retirement home as the Dirty Bubble's nemesis, and we see her constantly in the background watching them. She is literally the perfect cover for the Dirty Bubble to spy on them. But most damning of all, this old lady is friends with and even went to high school with Man Ray.
Why, hello, Ray.
Mabel! I haven't seen you since high school.
Larry the Lobster was raised by the Dirty Bubble, explaining how he became the infamous criminal known as Pinhead Larry. And wait a second. Pinhead Larry was raised by the Dirty Bubble? The only criminal we know in the show whose entire gimmick is being dirty. Holy sh! The Dirty Bubble is Dirty Dan. It fits too perfectly. This would also explain how Dirty Dan faked his death. The Dirty Bubble is constantly being killed and later brought back to life with a bubble blower. The Dirty Bubble and Larry the Lobster were the infamous criminal duo Dirty Dan and Pinhead Larry. After nearly being killed by Sandy, they changed their identities and split up. The Dirty Bubble continuing his criminal pursuits with his new partner Man Ray, and Larry the Lobster choosing a more subtle approach by secretly selling illegal kelp shakes. And even though they've been apart for years now, the Dirty Bubble still left a little reminder to his old partner. Dirty Dan was here. Yes, he certainly was. And that is the Pinhead Larry the Lobster theory, and that is the end of Alex Bale's SpongeBob Conspiracies. Thank you very much.
Sheesh. And another ad. Great.
Okay, I'm done. That is every possible
10
SpongeBob
ads.
theory I can think of. I got no more. I have fully emptied my brain of every stupid SpongeBob thought I have ever come up with. There is no more reason to ask me for more, okay? Remember when I said I wasn't gonna complain in this video? Yeah, that was a lie. Listen, I'm sure they will make more SpongeBob episodes and spin-offs and movies that will be full of new lore to theorize about, but I'll probably just let other theorists take it from here. I've got a lot of really cool ideas involving other non-SpongeBob related media, so hopefully you guys stick around for those. I promise they'll be just as believable and twisty and fun as all of these theories. If they weren't, I wouldn't bother making them. Thanks for almost 1 million subscribers, by the way. That's cool. You may be wondering, do I actually legitimately believe any of these theories? Yes and no. Do I think they were all actually intended by the creators 100%? No, probably not. I think there's a nugget of truth in each of these theories. Like, yes, they clearly intended to give the show a nature documentary framing device. And yes, Mrs. Puff is clearly supposed to have a shady criminal past, but I don't know if the creators ever actually thought about it much more than that. And most of the crazy lore connections I find can probably be explained away as just Easter eggs, coincidences, lazy writing, or just animation mistakes. I'm sorry if admitting that ruins the fun for anyone, but I don't think that means that these theories are just a bunch of bullshit or a waste of time. You know, I believe you can find meaning in art beyond just what the creators intend, even in a silly cartoon made for kids. And those interpretations are still just as valid and entertaining. To me, that's the whole appeal of fan theories. So when I get comments saying, it's just a kid's show, it's not that deep, you're overthinking it. Yeah, I know, that's the whole point, that's why it's so fun. You know, I love taking something like SpongeBob that very likely does not have any deep hidden lore inside of it, and yet still somehow making a massive, plausible conspiracy out of the little inconsistencies in the episode. To me, that is just so much fun. And that's all these videos are at the end of the day. They're just me having fun by taking things way too seriously. So yeah, more theories on the way. I'll probably keep covering topics like SpongeBob that are nostalgic and unsuspecting. I guess I might as well announce some of the theories I'm working on. I'll be releasing a Blue's Clues theory and a High School Musical theory. There's just a lot to talk about with both of those. I'm really excited. I'm also working on a bunch of other theories too. I just don't want to reveal them yet. So go ahead and subscribe to catch those. I don't know when or what order I'll be posting those in. I might even post something else besides those two first. We'll see. Also, film stuff. Still working on a feature film. Won't be out for a long time, blah blah blah. I feel like I say this at the end of every video now. You know, I'm just trying to let the film fans on my channel know that even if you don't see any new filmy stuff on the channel for a while, it doesn't mean there's nothing cooking in the background, and this is the biggest project I've ever worked on, so I'm gonna take my time with it. Cool. I'll also be releasing a compilation of all of the episodes of Don't Feed the Muse into one long film. I'm really proud of that whole series. You know, I'll probably also just keep experimenting with the type of content I post on YouTube. That's all I got for you. This was a really long video, biggest video I've ever made. Thank you for all the support on these SpongeBob videos. They really were a lot of fun to make, and they were just a really big part of my life for the past couple of years. And even though I've played this character that hates making SpongeBob theories, I've really appreciated all the love on those videos. You can check out my Patreon or merch if you want to support me. Patrons can get access to new videos early, sneak peeks behind the scenes, and their name at the end of the video. Thanks again. I will see you next time. No more SpongeBob. Bye!
W video. And that's it. Yeah, so we're seeing 10 ads on this video. Not your fault, bro. It's YouTube. Anyway, I think I'm gonna also react to, what did he say? High School Musical series? Yeah, okay, so High School Musical. I'm also gonna react to that one, and what else? Ooh. And he has a lot. Miss Frizzle? Okay. Okay, I'm out. Peace.